In the news this week, Roger Cook to face a major test as leader, with local Labour branches feeling ignored over candidate selection. Peter Kennedy's exclusive analysis.
Also tonight, growing petition to delay the Aboriginal Heritage laws as community concerns skyrocket. The No campaign presents their argument against a voice to Parliament. And later, Dr. Andrew Miller's comment.
This is The Evening News with Ivan Loom and Maliva Thorne.
Good evening. WA's new Premier Roger Cook is facing a big test next month as he goes head-to-head against Liberal leader Libby Mettam for the first time. Although Labour is expected to easily win the Rockingham by-election, WAMN News understands some local Labour branch members feel they have been ignored over the party's candidate pre-selection decision. Peter Kennedy has more exclusive details on this matter.
The Rockingham by-election on Saturday, July 29, represents the first major test of the campaigning skills for new Labor Premier Roger Cook and also Liberal leader Libby Mettam. The seat is vacant because of the resignation of former long-term member Mark McGowan, who had a stranglehold on the seat since 1996. It must be remembered that at the last election, Mark McGowan had rock star status and the Labor vote was 80% plus, which is an extraordinary result in any election. So with the by-election coming up, one thing is certain, Labor will win it, but the other thing that's certain is there will be an anti-Labor swing. The question is, how big will that swing be? In by-elections, normally the anti-government swing is set at around, say, 5%. People like to give the government of the day a kick up the pants, but generally speaking, by-elections don't change the government. In this case, Labor has a margin up its sleeve of about 35%. So if there's a 5% swing, that's still a 30% win, but the swing's expected to be much, much bigger. Now, how big is not known, but as far as the Liberals are concerned, they will be going for the biggest swing they possibly can get, because if they can get a big swing, this will set them up for the state election in less than 2 years' time. The Liberals have to indicate to voters that they are on the way back, and to indicate to voters a good vote in the Rockingham by-election will partly get that message across. So very important for the Liberals, and as far as Roger Cook's concerned, he's got to minimise that swing. So watch out, the by-election. It's crucial. It'll be low-key, south of Perth. It'll be low-key, but the stakes will be high. And the votes on the evening of Saturday, July 29, will be absolutely crucial. One other thing, there has been a little bit of dissension about the selection of the Labor candidate. The local branches feel that they have been ignored and that the candidate has been imposed on them. Now, that might be internal Labor Party scuttlebutt. It might be perhaps promoted by the Liberal opposition. But these sort of things do occur in by-elections where one side is expected to win quite easily. However, as I say, Saturday, July 29, the evening when the votes are counted, just how big that swing will be to the Liberal Party will be absolutely crucial to the way the Liberal Party approaches the election, state election, in less than 2 years' time. Peter Kennedy, WAMN News.
The First Nations Land Reform Act is coming into effect very soon, causing deep concerns among WA's communities. Under the law, landowners in the city and the regions may face hefty financial penalties and jail time for land activities, including clearing trees, building fences, digging farm dams and footing. So far, 30,000 people have signed the petition seeking a 6-month delay on the Act.
The impending implementation of WA's Aboriginal heritage laws has caused deep concerns among farmers and tradies across the state. The online petition lodged by Liberal MLC Neil Thompson, petitioned on behalf of the Pastoral and Graziers Association WA, has gained close to 30,000 signatures so far. Mr. Thompson held multiple community seminars in WA's regional towns. The response have been overwhelming as town halls were packed with concerned residents.
A lot of anxiety in the room, and I think people came away probably more confused than the day they walked, when they walked in. Certainly, that's my impression. I spoke to a lot of people afterwards. People are not feeling happy about the new laws and how they're going to potentially apply. They feel they don't have enough information. The guidelines for Aboriginal heritage surveys, for example, aren't available online. The system's not online. We just don't have enough information. And up here in the goldfields, we don't even have really any prospect of a local Aboriginal cultural heritage service because native title hasn't been determined. So we've got some major concerns in this region about the ongoing sort of continuity of business with these new laws.
The Pastoralists and Graziers Association WA is urging the government to delay the Act for 6 months to set up a proper process. President Tony Seabrook says the Act will bring more red tape for food producers who are already under pressure.
There's something fundamentally wrong. These are people that are concerned and don't know. So the process of consultation obviously hasn't worked.
So you're saying the consultation process has failed so far?
I'd say it's failed dramatically. Look, if the government's putting legislation in front of ordinary people in our community and they're up in arms and they're signing petitions and the government's saying there's nothing wrong with the legislation, well then they fail to educate those people that are concerned.
Under these new laws, every land in Western Australia bigger than 1,100 square metres will need activity permits to clear trees, build fences, digging farm dams and footing. It will also affect tradies in the city, as approval process may take up to a year. There are also no guarantees that applications will be approved.
Hi there. Are you looking for a new home or want to refinance your car mortgage to get a better rate? At AA Finance Solutions, we have the expertise and knowledge to help you to find the right loan for your needs and budgets. Contact us today. Let us help you to make your home ownership dream a reality.
AA Finance Solutions, your local mortgage broker.
Albany Hospital has become the latest facility to report a concerning incident of a nurse working a triple shift, following a similar occurrence at Fiona Stanley's high-risk ICU earlier this month. These incidents shed light on the escalating staff shortage crisis, with triple shifts becoming an alarming trend within Western Australia's healthcare system. The prolonged work hours significantly increase the risk of accidents and compromise patient safety. The Australian Nursing Federation WA Secretary Janet Ray emphasises triple shifts should be deemed illegal in the health profession due to the heightened risks they pose to both patients and exhausted staff.
This nurse at Albany was asked to work overtime. She then had a altered start the next day to make up for working late, and then she was requested to stay on until the next morning looking after a small child that was very ill. There's a lot of questions. I don't know the exact outcomes and why these things happened yet, but we are asking for investigations.
In a devastating move, the ABC will axe its 7 p.m. local TV news broadcast on Sunday and replace it with a national news bulletin instead. This means every state and territory in Australia will lose its local 7 p.m. television news broadcast on Sunday. The shocking decision comes after the ABC's sensational move to sack its national political editor, Andrew Probyn. Meanwhile, the ABC also announced plans including digital transformation to news and programming as audiences shift away from TV and radio. A spokeswoman from the ABC confirmed to WAMN News that the new national 7 p.m. newscast on Sunday will not be broadcasting out of the Ultimo HQ, and the details are to be announced closer to the launch.
The Australian Arab Association is gearing up for its second round of Eid Carnival on the 1st of July this year. The association seeks to create a family-friendly event for all Western Australians, following their record success in the first round of Eid Carnival and the Arab Festival earlier in the year. Food trucks, rides, bazaar stores and multicultural performances continue to be major drawcards for the event. AAA spokeswoman Amal Youssef invites all members of the community to participate in the event in Thornley.
If they're thinking of coming along, it's a fun family day. We're doing it here at Thornley this time. We're doing it a little bit differently. We'll have bazaar stores and we will have food stores. Plenty of different foods will be available. There'll be camel rides, there'll be some rides, mechanical rides. There'll be face painting and free entertainment. So it starts at 11 a.m. and it finishes at 6 p.m. So my food store, I suppose, is Halal Brothers, which they do an amazing kebab. And Bazaar Stores is Candle Store, which she makes scrunchies and candles, which every time she comes I buy.
Kings Park is set to dazzle visitors with the arrival of Lightscape, a global phenomenon making its debut in Perth City. This immersive winter wonderland spectacle promises an enchanting experience, featuring an interactive trail adorned with over 440,000 mesmerising lights. Collaborating with local and international artists, the display aims to highlight the beauty of nature and promote the importance of conservation and culture. With support from Sony and the City of Perth, Lightscape is expected to captivate over 150,000 attendees during its 6-week run. Lightscape transforms Kings Park into a captivating journey through a symphony of light, colour and sound. The 1.8 kilometre trail winds through the Botanic Garden, showcasing illuminated tree canopies, larger-than-life flowers and a magical glowing tunnel. This 90-minute experience promises to transport visitors to a realm of wonder and delight, leaving them awestruck by the mesmerising visual spectacle.
And now here's Dr. Andrew Miller with his weekly medical and news commentary.
Thanks for your time. Once again, I find myself in furious agreement with the Australian Nurses Federation. Nurses are not a greedy bunch of people. They're a very giving bunch of people. They go above and beyond the requirements of their job, and what they've been asking for and what the coroners asked for in the wake of Aishwarya's death at PCH 2 years ago now, tragically. What they're asking for is enough staff to be able to do their job without feeling like they're constantly trying to go the extra mile to try and paper over the cracks in the health system. The crux of the question is, when will the government commit to enforceable nurse ratios per number of people in an emergency department, including the Children's Hospital? And what we have had announced from the Minister is a vague commitment to a pilot program for a guideline. And as anyone who deals with government knows, if something is a guideline, that means it's unenforceable, which means that it's just not going to happen at a time of difficult resource. So, look forward to the chair of the Child and Adolescent Health Service condemning that. I look forward to the clinicians who work on the front line there condemning this guideline, and I look forward to the government announcing some real change. We're going to find out whether Premier Cook's got any real cojones when it comes to fixing the problems that he well knows are in health, that he was presiding over when he was the Health Minister, and whether the new Minister can step up and effectively advocate for nurses and for their patients at the front line. It's time for the rubber to meet the road and for them to deliver on the promise that they're going to look after West Australians and that they're going to implement the recommendations of the very sad coronial inquest into Aishwarya's death.
That was Dr. Andrew Miller's comment. So, Ivan, did you enjoy the Lightscape event?
It was a very magical experience. I definitely encourage you to go. Are you planning to go?
Definitely, I must.
Well, you must. Okay, well, you've got 3 weeks to go. But now for those of you who are considering, who are thinking, and who are wondering, should you go? Well, the good news is that the first 15 minutes of the show, we were there. And in fact, we did it live on our Facebook page as well. So you can definitely check it out. And so then you can make up your mind as to whether you want to consider or not. We'll recap this week's top stories again in just a moment.
But right now, here's Madeline Lombardi with Western Perspective.
Thanks, Ivan and Melly. Welcome to Western Perspective. I'm Madeline Lombardi. This week we are continuing our investigation series covering the issue on the voice to Parliament. After uncovering the yes argument with Nulla Court CEO Mervyn Eades, we now gain perspective into the no campaign. Pastoralist and Grazers Association Western Australia President Tony Seabrook joins the discussion, arguing that Australia should prioritise education as an alternative for the voice to Parliament for First Nation communities. Here is part 1 of the interview. Okay, so Tony, what are the key concerns or objections that the No campaign has regarding the establishment of an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice in the Constitution?
The very first thing is it's divisive. It is absolutely divisive. Jacinta Price has said all along that we're all one, we're all equal, and this creates another group of people, elite and separate from the mainstream of Australia, and so it will be divisive.
And what are the reasons that you support it in particular?
We need to do better. We need to do much, much better. What we should be having is a Royal Commission. The amount of money being spent in this area, and I'm told it's over $38 billion a year, $100 million a day. We're not getting the result. In every regard, when you measure the gap, the widening of the gap, the lack of education, the lack of health, we're failing so badly with this huge amount of money being spent. This will just add another layer of bureaucracy, another bunch of elite bureaucrats in Canberra who will just squander the money, and it's highly unlikely to make any difference.
I want to know, how does the No campaign view the potential impact of an advisory board like the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice on the existing democratic and government structures within Australia?
Albanese said quite clearly that it would be a very, very brave government that refused to accept the advice of the voice. That is a clear measure of just how powerful this body of people might end up being.
So can you outline any alternative proposals or approaches that the No campaign suggests for addressing the issues faced by Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples beyond the establishment of a voice of Parliament?
Well, look, I was asked that question by Jacinta Price a little while ago, and it's one word: it's education. These people that are disadvantaged, their only access into the broader community and society is to be educated so they can take a rightful place. At whatever level, whether they're tradies or whether they're in bureaucracy, whether they're lawyers, accountants or doctors, they need an opportunity to be educated. And I see when I go up north, I see these bright-eyed little kids with no future whatsoever because their parents and the community insist they live on country. On country is a lifestyle choice funded by white people, by the taxpayers of Australia, that actually condemns these kids to a life of no future. It's imperative that education gets out there, and we don't need to build another bureaucracy, and I believe that the voice will just do that.
You were just saying that on country, were you saying that's a white initiative for people to stay on country, or is it?
Look, it's funded by white people, but a whole bunch of misguided people in the Aboriginal industry seem to regard it as a great sort of a virtue that people are living on country. Living on country means you've got no education, you've got no opportunities, and it doesn't in any way open up the doors into the broader community. It sounds great, in the same way that Indigenous people are employed to care for the land. Caring for the land is not a proper education, or proper opportunity. Now, what these guys need to be doing is learning how to work a spanner, learning how to drive a truck, learning how to do all the other things that white society does. And we need to encourage them at every opportunity to become part of our society, not living out in the bush in their society. It's not helping.
Is that just an idea in a sense of, I guess, not appreciating that there can be a duality of living in a sense, so living on country as opposed to falling under constitutional or colonised ways of understanding, I guess, a white society and how we live as a colony as opposed to...
So what you're talking about is a separate society. This is what we've got to avoid. People come here from all over the world with no money, no education whatsoever. They come here because they want to be part of Australia. It's imperative that the Indigenous community have that same opportunity to become part of all Australia. And if you encourage a lifestyle of the past, you're condemning these kids to a life with a very limited future. It comes at a huge expense to all Australians, and it's not delivering. And this gap they're talking about, the gap is largely predicated on the inability of those people that are disadvantaged to come from the sort of background they need to into our background. They have to move there. And a very wise lady from Halls Creek on television a few weeks ago, and she was absolutely rinky-dink in the bush Indigenous. She simply said, my children must go and learn at a white man's school. They must go away from here to learn the skills to become part of that society. I just thought that was amazing. For someone with her background to have the insight to see that. I just felt like reaching out and giving her a hug. You really understand.
That was PGA WA's Tony Seabrook. You can read our weekly premium news stories on the WAMN Extra News Club, supporting independent local news and keeping democracy strong. And now, here's Leo Puglisi with what's coming up on 6 News tonight.
Thanks, guys. On 6 News, David Van set to skip the upcoming week of Parliament as a senator reveals there were rumours about the ex-Liberal now being accused of sexual assault. The Indigenous Australians Minister plays down polling showing slipping support for the Voice, and Donald Trump in the lead over Joe Biden in a hypothetical 2024 presidential contest. Watch live whenever you want on our YouTube channel and our website, 6newsau.com. For now, though, it is back to you.
That was Leo Puglisi from 6 News. And that's all from Western Perspective for this week. We'll be back next Sunday. Until then, Ivan and Melly, it's back to you both.
Thanks, Maddie. And that's our weekly news and current affairs. We have the latest news on our website, wamnnews.com.au.
Don't forget to subscribe to the WAMN Extra News Club so we can continue our work in the community. Full details on wamnews.com.au/news/extra. From Melly and myself, wish you good health, good night. See you next Sunday.
Thanks for watching.